When did you last look at a clock? 60 seconds, 60 minutes, 360 degrees in a circle. That mathematics isn't ours, it's Babylonian. It's 3,000 years old, and it still lives in every clock face, every navigation system, every angle you've ever measured. You live by a system invented by people who built with ordinary clay and read the stars the way we read the news. You know about the Tower of Babel. Forget everything you know. Babylon isn't a biblical metaphor about human pride. It isn't ruins, and it isn't legend. It's the first system in human history, the first body of public law, the first star catalogue, the first school with textbooks and exams. A city that had a legal code at a time when most peoples didn't yet know what law was. That measured the sky before the Greeks invented the word astronomy. That vanished and quietly went on living in every circle, divided into 360 degrees. Between the Tigris and the Euphrates lies a land that the gods, according to legend, shaped from their own blood. Not from stone or copper, from blood. This land has no natural borders or mountains. There was nowhere to hide behind cliffs. There was only one way to protect yourself here, with your own mind, written down in law. It was here that humanity decided to build the tallest structure it could imagine, and reach the sky not with wings, but with brick, school and cuneiform. Imagine a morning in Babylon, roughly 18 centuries before our era. Not a museum morning, a real one. The Euphrates smells of silt and fish. Market traders are already spreading barley and dates on woven mats, and a scribe in the Adaba, the temple school, hands students wet clay tablets and shows them how to hold a reed stylus to make a wedge. Cuneiform isn't letters, it's impressions. A stylus pressed into soft clay, and a thought becomes permanent forever. Babylonian schools existed 2 millennia before Plato founded his academy. They taught mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and law systematically, with textbooks, with exams, with generations of teachers passing knowledge like a baton through time. 3 layers of society. Babylonian society was divided into 3 layers, not on paper, in life, with real debts, marriage contracts, and courts. The Awalim, a free person who owned land and had rights. The Mushkanum, a free person without property, dependent on the palace or temple. The Wardum, a slave, property, but not without rights. Even a slave in Babylon could run a business, save money, and buy their freedom. This nuance isn't a detail, it's a principle. Babylonian civilization was sophisticated enough to understand that absolute rightlessness is unstable. Even at the lowest point of the hierarchy, there had to be a crack through which a little light could pass. Otherwise, the system collapses from within. In the taverns, of which the city had many, often owned and run by women, people drank beer through straw tubes from large jugs. Barley beer made from recipes preserved on tablets, with more than 20 varieties recorded. Beer in Babylon wasn't a luxury, it was part of the daily ration, including the ration of workers building the royal structures. Hammurabi and the Code Hammurabi solved a problem no army could solve. Not with weapons, with stone and words. Hammurabi ruled from approximately 1792 to 1750 BCE. 43 years, enough to transform a regional city into the heart of Mesopotamia. Imagine a black stone slab, 2.5 meters tall. On it, a king is carved receiving laws from a god, and 282 articles, from first to last. This is the Code of Hammurabi. The articles set the fee for a physician depending on the patient's social status. They regulated rental fees for land, a woman's rights in divorce, the conditions for adoption, laws on trade, laws on loans, laws on the improper safekeeping of someone else's property. If a builder built a house and the house collapsed, the builder is executed. This isn't cruelty, it's accountability written in stone. Hammurabi understood something fundamental. Chaos isn't defeated by force, it's defeated by predictability. When a person knows what will happen if they break a contract, they are less inclined to break it. Law as psychological architecture, the code as a way to make the future a little less dark. This was 1300 years before Rome, astronomy and the sky. But Babylon didn't only give laws to the earth, It lifted its eyes upward. Babylonian priest astronomers observed the stars not for romantic reasons. They did so to make the unpredictable predictable, to know the timing of agricultural work, to predict eclipses that kings feared, to mark favorable times for wars and marriages. But in the course of this pragmatic observation, they did something more than simply serve power. They laid the foundations on which all subsequent scientific thought stands. Babylonian tablets preserve records of observations of the moon, the sun, and the 5 planets known to them. Systematic records kept over centuries. They predicted solar and lunar eclipses with an accuracy that astonishes even modern astronomers. They knew the length of the solar year to within less than 4 minutes of error. The zodiac, the 12 constellations by which we still mark the celestial ecliptic, is a Babylonian invention. Over several generations of systematic observation, Babylonian astronomers developed mathematical models that allowed them to predict the positions of planets months in advance. The Greek astronomers we typically consider the founders of celestial science learned from the Babylonians. Hipparchus, Ptolemy, Aristotle himself all had access to Babylonian records. Stop. Remember this moment. Alexander had just taken the richest city in the world. Gold, slaves, palaces, all his. And the first thing he did will surprise you. He ordered the tablets collected and sent to his teacher. The conqueror rushed to acquire the knowledge of the conquered, because he understood that this knowledge was worth more than gold. Mathematics. The Babylonians counted in 60s. Why 60? Because it divides into almost anything, without a remainder. It is the ideal number for measuring time and angle. That is why an hour has 60 minutes. That is why a minute has 60 seconds. That is why a circle has 360 degrees. We still live by Babylonian mathematics every time we look at a clock, every time a navigator plots a course. There is a tablet found in Iraqi dust that shattered one of the most convenient myths in the history of mathematics. Here is what it says. Babylonian mathematicians solved quadratic equations. They knew the theorem we attribute to Pythagoras 1,000 years before Pythagoras was born. The tablet, Plimpton 322, found in Iraq and dated to approximately the 18th century BCE, contains a table of Pythagorean triples, not as a theoretical exercise, but as a practical tool for surveyors and builders. The Ishtar Gate and the Ziggurat. The Ishtar Gate opened to the north, not for convenience. There was a reason behind it that the Babylonians considered more important than any architectural logic. Not because the north was convenient, but because in Babylonian cosmology, north carried special weight. It was the direction of the gods, of the unmoving sky, of the eternal. Whoever entered through these gates was meant to understand. They were entering not a city. They were entering the space between humanity and God. The gates were covered in blue glazed brick, that deep lapis lazuli color, which in Mesopotamia was the color of the sky and, accordingly, the color of eternity. Against the blue background, relief images of Mushushu dragons with serpent heads and the claws of birds of prey, symbol of the god Marduk, and bulls, symbol of the storm god Adad. 120 lions decorated the processional way. Through these gates, once a year, passed the Akitu procession, the New Year festival. Marduk blessed the king. The king represented Marduk on earth, and this circle closed before the eyes of the entire city. The gods kept order, kings carried out their will, and society existed in this triangle between sky, throne, and law. And above it all rose Etemenanki, house of the foundation of heaven and earth. A 7-tiered ziggurat reaching 90 meters in height. Each tier symbolized a different level of the cosmos. At the summit, a temple reserved exclusively for the god. The ziggurat was a statement. Humanity is capable of building something so great that the gods will want to dwell in it. Standing at the foot of Etemenanki, a Babylonian looked up and saw the axis around which the world turns. They saw proof that their city was not merely a city, but the center of the universe, the place where the earthly intersects with the eternal. This thought lives in every cathedral, every skyscraper, every monument raised for the sake of endurance. Because humanity builds not because it needs somewhere to live. Humanity builds because it cannot accept that it will die. The fall and the return Babylon did not fall in a single day. It fell and rose again and again over several millennia. The Hittites sacked the city around 1595 BCE. The Kassites came after them and ruled for more than 4 centuries, assimilating into the culture so completely that they became its guardians. The Assyrians destroyed the city in the 7th century BCE, but Babylon returned because the idea of Babylon was stronger than its walls. Then came the 6th century BCE, and Nebuchadnezzar II transformed the city into something unprecedented in the known world of the time. A population of 100 to 200,000 inhabitants made it the largest city in the world. The walls rose more than 20 meters high. It was under Nebuchadnezzar that the Ishtar Gate was built, and possibly the Hanging Gardens, which the Greeks later included in their list of wonders of the world. In 539 BCE, the greatest army in the world approached the most powerful walls in the world. What happened next fits no logic of conquest. The Persian army under Cyrus the Great approached Babylon. The Ishtar Gate opened without a fight. The priests of Marduk welcomed the Persians as liberators. Cyrus issued a decree, the Cyrus Cylinder, declaring the restoration of cults, the return of deported peoples to their homelands, freedom of religion. The Jews received permission to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple. Alexander the Great entered Babylon in 331 BCE. He made a sacrifice to Marduk, ordered the ruined ziggurat restored, and declared Babylon the capital of his future empire. In 323 BCE, Alexander died in Babylon. He was 32 years old.